Hi everybody, it's Lennon, and today we're going to be talking about shamanistic healing. And yes, I decided to dress up for the occasion. And I don't want to be disrespectful, okay? I dress up because I like to do it. This has nothing to do with what actual shamans may look like or how they're depicted in literature or anything, okay? This is just my interpretation of it. Consider this just me throwing things together because I like to dress up, okay? So that's it. That's no other reason but that, okay? I'm not actually impersonating anyone. But what a shaman is, okay? I've got my notes here. A person regarded as having access to and influence in the world of spirits. It derives from a Tungus word. Now, Tungus is an ancient tribe from Siberia, meaning one who knows. Isn't that beautiful? Okay. It just is. Like, I read that and I was like, yes, yes. And it's morning here, so forgive me. Now, it is said that you can't call yourself a shaman, okay? You have to be initiated into that in order for you to, like, be considered a shaman. There has to be some sort of initiation, okay? So you can't just go around saying, oh, I'm a shaman. I'm the one who knows, without having had some form of community or group of people that dub you that. And then there's, like I said, initiation, like things that you have to do to I guess prove yourself to those groups, that group of people. You have to basically prove yourself, right? So out of that, I'm not coming on and saying I'm a shaman, okay? I do consider some of what I consider some of my practice, like some of the rituals and spells and whatever magic with a K I'm doing. I consider that very much shamanistic healing is what I want to call it right now. And so I did some research, and as you saw from the title, this is 2 tarots and a journey, right? I'm going to go a little bit into my childhood and how I do kind of feel like my childhood was kind of shamanistic. There were some things in my childhood that I guess you would call, like, I went on several journeys that could be considered shamanistic. As blasphemous as that would sound to the lifestyle I had growing up, there were so many things in my childhood that called to me on, like, a spirit realm, I guess. Okay? Things that I would do, things that I would intuitively know or intuitively just do. Looking back on that was all very spirit realm things. And so, upon doing my research and finding out some of the things that the shamans do and how how people incorporate that into their practice, like their magic, witchy practice or whatever, or practice in general. And then even what shamans are doing in other countries, in America, things that shamans do that I've kind of roped in a list of things that you and me can do. And it's kind of like shamanistic healing in a way. And that's kind of why I went on why we're going on this journey today, is to figure it all out. As some of you know, if you've watched any of my other videos, I had a giant sweet gum in the yard of my childhood home. Now, I keep saying childhood home because I lived in this one house for 0 to, I think, 14. So I didn't move around. I just stayed there my entire childhood. And so we had this giant tree. We had a great yard in general. Pretty big for back then, 90s suburbia, okay? But we had this giant tree, and we had rope ladders and big thick ropes hanging from all the thick branches and the swings. There was one swing. And I just was in the tree all the time and suspended in the tree. But I remember upon reading about certain things like this, I remember thinking about going up in the tree or being suspended on a rope on specific times. Okay, like when it would rain or when it would thunderstorm. I am a storm witch. I have to be out in it. If it is thunderstorming or storming in general or heavy rain, I do a lot of rain dancing. I go out and really let the rain hit me and I'll get soaked and then I'll come back in and get a shower. But the point is that I'm a storm witch and have been my entire life. So when it was storming, even though that's pretty much not a safe thing to do, and sometimes my parents wouldn't let me go out there, but I remember really meditating, and I didn't even know that that's what it was back then, but I would sit in the tree on a branch or in the swing, and I would listen to the way the canopy was so thick, the rain rarely hit the ground. So it would touch all the leaves, and then by the time it got to under the canopy, there was barely anything under there. You know, it was like a big wet ring around the whole tree. But I would listen to it, and I wouldn't be doing anything but sitting there, and I would be listening to the rain, right? And I would be listening to the wind. And it made such a melodic sound that it would just kind of lull me, right? Had no idea that I was probably way off in the astral somewhere. My imagination still can take me places that are like way out there. So, but I remember just letting the tree sounds, whatever they were, just lull me. And I would just lay there on my, next to the trunk on the branch and just kind of, And so that felt, looking back, it does seem like that's kind of shamanistic, right? Being out in nature in general, that's shamanistic. Another thing that, upon reading and my research, that I found out was like drumming, rattles, music being a part of my life back then. Now, we didn't have, my dad played the guitar, listen to music in general, but I thought about a couple of instances where I was a little girl and he had these giant, like, rectangle Bose speakers that you could hook up to your stereo system and he would pull them outside, especially if it was nice outside. He would pull them out on this little deck that we had and just blast, classic rock out into the yard, wherever the hell we were. But I remember they were covered in this mesh, like it was like a black mesh on the side that the music comes out. And I remember loving the feel of how the mesh would move when the music was blasting. And a couple of times I would either lay my hands on the mesh or I would want to lay on them, like wrap myself around it and feel the vibrations of whatever music was going through in my body. And you could feel it all the way through. And I remember I had no idea that it was like a call. It was like a call. And it was calling to me even way back then. And how maybe that's why I have to have that type of music playing now. Bouncing off of all the organs in me. Maybe that's why. Another thing that was a huge part of my childhood was, now I lived in this house, like I said, from like 0 to 14. The next door neighbors were an elderly couple that lived there at the same amount of time. And they became like me and my siblings' respective grandparents, really. They were at that right age to where they could have been our grandparents. And so we were always over there playing and whatnot. And they kept all kinds of animals. Turkeys, chickens. I think at one time she had a goat. Well, yeah, because her name was Betty. Mean ass thing. Mean ass Billy goat. A swan at one time. And then, of course, I think at the peak, she had I want to say 5 dogs at least 5 dogs and then a couple of cats running around. And she had all of these animal doors in all these places in her house and in her yard. And I was so immersed with animals. Like but animals was very much this elderly couple's thing, you know? And so I remember the lady loving animals, right? And we always just kind of went over there and helped feed all the chickens and the dogs. And when it was feeding time, all the animals knew. And I mean, she was just like Dr. Dolittle, you know, filling bird baths and filling water troughs. And that was a huge part of our childhood. So looking back, that just seems so, doesn't it seem so sort of like totem almost? And I do try to think about what animals like resonated with me the most. And I mean, I can't pinpoint just one. I'd have to actually go on that journey to see if one calls out to me. But I did have a very animal loving childhood where I learned all about them from this house next door that had them all. And I will say that there was a lot of grounding that happened in my childhood. And the main thing, and I mean the main thing, that makes me think of grounding and like coming back to earth, right? Now, of course, I was always in the tree or running and dancing in the yard, but one thing stands out that I do still to this day. I am a barefoot queen. I can't stand shoes. I'm not wearing shoes right now. Actually, I don't think I've worn shoes in any of my videos. Not that you see that, not that I would show that, but at childhood, I only wore shoes to school. As soon as I got home from wherever the hell we were, they're off. I don't care if it's dead middle of the winter. Now, where I live in the south of the U.S., it doesn't really get that cold here. I mean, it may snow, it might not. This year it didn't snow at all. So I've had a pretty barefoot winter this year. But I'm still like that today. I can't stand shoes. When I go outside, I have to be barefoot. And I've done that my entire life. And, you know, fun fact about linen, my feet are so calloused from that, from being barefoot my whole life, I can walk across coals, Legos, whatever. I can walk across anything. So that's pretty fun, you know, fun fact about me. But, so all these things in my childhood, now we didn't grow up, the call, the shamanistic healing call, right, was calling me even then. And the calls and the pulls that I get to study certain things now could be reminiscent of way back then, the things that I used to do that I need to incorporate into daily life now. It's almost like healing the inner child, you know? The things that I did back then that really made me happy, really happy. And that molded the molding that has happened to me over, you know, with society and adulthood, and you have to adult, and you have to do this. It kind of chips away at the happy and the stoked that you felt back then. And so I think that the call to me, upon all my research, it does feel shamanistic. It feels like I need to incorporate some of that shamanistic healing into my life. I've made up a list of things that shamans do that I can incorporate and that you can incorporate into your daily life. I consider myself a healer only because I'm a natural remedy fiend, okay? Anything's happening with the people I love, I resort to my big tome of natural remedies. Let's find some natural stuff happening, and I resort to this book because this was, I don't even know when this thing was published, and I've got all kinds of luck. Right in the beginning, I have these, and they're just scraps of paper that I'll like set intentions on, especially if I'm working on healing magic. I'll set intentions on pieces of paper and burn them. There are so many natural remedies in here. Let's get to I mean, list like joint pain, kidney stones, rash, psoriasis, night blindness, oily hair, panic attacks. I mean, there's a remedy for everything. Sound therapy. Music is so important in my life. And then also shamans with drumming and like rattles. Shamans, according to my research, they use the drumming and the rattles as a way to alter their state of consciousness, okay? Because that's the point of it, is to get into the spirit realm to figure out how to heal the person, right? That's what shamans do. And you have to alter your state of consciousness to reach the spirit realm. And so they use drumming and rattles and all kinds of other things, like they do use herbs like ayahuasca and peyote. But even without that, music, drumming, rattles, and like they say, it changes how your blood moves and how your heart rate will mimic what you're listening to, right? And I thought that was like, whoa. But if you think about drumming, the reason drumming is so important is because it sends you like all the way back to womb. I want you to think about that for a second. It takes you all the way back to when you were in your mother's womb, okay, hearing her heartbeat. And so, that's how it alters you, okay? Upon feeling the vibration in here, in your body, and then your body mimics the drumming, mimics that heartbeat, but because it's out here, it's taken you on this journey, and you probably don't even know it's happening, okay? Takes you on this journey all the way back to when you were in the womb, and it mimics the heartbeat. Of course, that's going to make you feel comfortable because you were in the womb, right? So, I thought that was fascinating. Sound therapy, anxiety, right? But this book is just, I've referenced it so many times. It's called New Choices and Natural Healing. I think it's still available. Self-help remedies from the world of alternative medicine. Yes. I thought that the way it's laid out, it's kind of like a natural remedies, natural healing Bible. And it feels very old world. This is what my ancestors were healing themselves with. And that's what I want to get back to. So, let's get back to the list because I went off on a tangent, okay? Journeying. It's huge. Like I said, altered state of consciousness. Now, all of us go on a journey every night. It's called dreaming. I was listening to a Scottish woman. She's a beautiful crone that I listened to on YouTube. I'll try to link her below. But these were years ago. Her videos were from years ago. But she was talking about dreaming and how to remember your dreams. And how if you want to start remembering your dreams, you have to train your brain. Okay? And the way you do that is for 7 days, a whole week, right? That's how long it takes to make a habit. Just FYI. 7 days, okay? Wake up 30 minutes before you're supposed to. Now, if you have a good sleep schedule where you wake up at the same time every day, then that'll jar your brain into being like, okay, what in the hell? And you'll kind of be in between. And then you use that 30 minutes to kind of bridge the gap. Because when you lull yourself up out of sleep, your brain takes over, right? Your consciousness takes over and you're like, I gotta get up and feed the kids. I gotta get up and, feed the dog and let the dog out, whatever. And your consciousness creeps in and just kind of, you forget, right? It's pretty easy to forget. So, when you wake up for those 7 days, 30 minutes early, it jars your brain into going, okay, and then you're stuck there on the bridge. Once you're on the bridge, you can say, okay, and you're not waking up. Okay, you're just in your bed. Just hit snooze, right? And don't go back to sleep. This is a time for you to just, don't open your eyes, hit snooze, and just kind of stay in the middle, right? And after so much time, okay, usually the 7 days, she says your brain will be able to, it's kind of like the bridge is doing this, and then once it does this, you'll be able to remember your dreams, because then your brain is kind of like conditioned to do so, to bridge the gap. So I thought, wow, now I don't have a problem remembering my dreams. I usually record them if they're like way out and I need to figure out why I dreamed that. I'll usually record them. I usually don't have a problem with remembering. Journeying through dreams, remembering them, figuring out what your subconscious is trying to tell you, stuff like that. Astral travel. I have, for me, astral travel is different than, it's like waking dreaming, in my opinion. I've only done that once, and I feel like I had gone way out there. I did it during a Reiki session, and when I woke up, I didn't wake up. I was already awake. That's what was so weird to me. I was awake the whole time, but my mind was somewhere else. It's like I left my body. I don't know how to explain it. When I woke up, she was like, "What did you see?" And I told her what I saw, and she was like, "I could tell right away that you weren't there, that you had gone away." And I was like, I don't know what the hell just happened, but it's pretty scary. It wasn't scary being out on the astral plane. The scary part was what it felt like coming back into my body. Like it was like a, you know, and I was like, holy shit. So it wasn't the going. That was fun. I was like, man, I want to do this all the time, right? Don't want to live real life. That's a problem, right? But getting sucked back felt like coming awake after anesthetic. Like a, but not that bad. I'm over dramatizing it, but the way it felt just kind of, it didn't leave me confident without, like, I need to be in a safe place. I need to feel like I'm in a safe place, and I need to be mentally stable enough to try that again. That's all I'll say on that. Next, because I'm taking forever, people. The next one is healing in general. Okay, now this could be like what I do. Healing in friendships, healing in family, giving loving advice when they ask for it, giving out my baked goods as forms of a healing practice, giving out teas, giving out my herbs. I make smudge sticks. I actually have 2 of them available right here. I make the big ones for me. Usually I make these and I keep them hanging in my kitchen. This one's pretty old actually, because I have so many, I can't go through them enough. But anyway, but then I use some of the little ones like this. If they're for something specific, I'll make them kind of little, and then I'll label them. This one is Damiana and Yarrow. Now, I use Damiana for, how do I put this delicately? Sex magic. Okay. When I have someone that, now I'll rip this off, okay? I'll tell them what's in there so that if they have any allergies or whatever, but Damiana is great for, especially if you've lost your sex drive, okay? It's never about the other person. I don't manipulate other people. But if you come to me and you're like, my sex drive is really down, Damiana, okay. And yarrow is good for for me, that's a protection. I have lots of yarrow in my herb garden, and I put that in my smudge stick because I feel like yarrow root is, I can do so much with yarrow root, but the leaves, nobody knows what to do with them. But I put them in smudge sticks along with the sage and Damiana because I feel like that's protection, home magic, I call. So if you've lost your sex drive, then there may be something in your household that's zhuzhing you up, right? So I'm binding, let's help the sex drive, but then also help how you feel in your house. Do you feel safe? Do you feel comfortable? Is it a sacred space? Your bedroom, your bed even. Let's meld the two. And so that's kind of what I do with some of them. You need a sacred space. Whether it's your whole house, whether it's your altar, whether it's your bedroom, whether it's the bathroom, put some stuff around your tub. I don't know. You need one. Now I'm going to tell you why. Think back to ancient times, okay, where they had temples and they had mounds in the shapes of the goddess, okay, and they had actual places, sacred places that they would go to. These people in most cultures would go to and pray and worship, and they have these sacred spaces. We don't have that anymore. Now, I'm not talking about church, okay? I'm not talking about churches or synagogues or anything like that. Those are sacred spaces too. I'm talking about people that are walking the path and that need an altar of their own path. Okay? Not a predetermined path. I mean, for you, on a path that you've mapped out yourself, you still need that temple. You still need that stone altar out in the woods. You still need that hill, okay, like Glastonbury Tor. You still need that for in here. So we're mimicking what the ancients have done for forever. Find a sacred space. Movement. Okay? Again, think back to ancient times. What did these people and these tribes and these cultures do? They moved. They danced. Tribal dances. They were moving. Okay? Ooh, even if it's your arms. Right? Even if it's your head. They did some kind of movement. Think about what the two main, there's expressive dance, like a tribal dance, okay? Where, like I said, you're just moving. And there's martial arts. And there's yoga. The three oldest forms of movement. Right there. Pick one. Movement is key. If it's been around since the dawn of time, move. But then, the other end of that is what? Stillness. Sacred stillness. Listening to your body, to your mind. Listening to the silence that is in here. Meditation. Sitting with the silence is important, just as important as movement. And it's just as important as drumming. Now I want to read something from one of the reference materials that I had for this video. And we're going to go over them all. But this is Uncoiling the Snake. This is by Vicki Noble, which is a co-creator of the Mother Peace Tarot. Okay? And in this book, they're like from different folks, different people that follow the pattern of women's spirituality. Okay? And I want to read you what Rachel Pollack wrote in this book. Okay? Temples and stone circles began with that recognition of a special place and the desire to fulfill the potential. Today, such people are following this path, and on a more modest scale, each one of us can help create the goddess's body in a place special to our sense of the sacred. Okay? Now, even if you don't worship the goddess, there's still, I'm kind of reading between the lines here. You still need that sacred spiritual place for yourself. Now, the most important thing is when you have a sacred space, you must consecrate it. It's kind of like cementing the fact that that space is going to be sacred to you. And she gives 8 ways to consecrate that space. Paint a picture of it. Photograph it. Tell a story about it. Do a ritual alone or with friends. Spend time there on a special day, such as a full moon or one of an ancient goddess festival. Plant a seed there. Take home a stone or a flower from there and build a temple there. Those are so simple to consecrate a sacred space. okay? It's about being present. And I thought that was so beautiful. It says, when we travel from our own country to experience sacred places in other lands, we act like bees bringing pollen from one plant to another so that the plant species can continue to live. We bring our knowledge from one culture to another, and we take back with us experiences that we can apply to our own lives. Beautiful, okay? I highly recommend this book, okay? If you love Mother Peace Tarot, if you love goddess spirituality in general, okay, I recommend this. It's chock full of people and their stories about how they've met the goddess, what they do with you know, movement, and just all kinds of sacred things in here that I love. And all kinds of shamanistic healing in here. Now, like I said, that was Uncoiling the Snake by Vicki Noble. And then I had this, which is the Natural Remedies Bible, I call it. And then I have one more book before we get to the tarot. I have one more book that I want to recommend when it comes in terms of when we're researching shamanism. And that's The Way of the Shaman. And this is by Michael Harner. And him and his wife actually have an hour-long special on YouTube about this book. Like, basically, they videoed it. Like, videoed all their experiences that they put in this book in an hour-long, like, documentary. But this is such a great book. It does kind of read like this was published in 1980. So, but it's about the journey, power, practicing, drums and rattles and aids, states of consciousness. I mean, he goes into so much. And like I said, the documentary is called A Way to the Shaman. The Way of the Shaman, I'm sorry. And it's him and his wife that do the video. And it's just fascinating. Okay, let's get to tarot. The two tarot decks that I work with on any type of shamanistic healing work. Okay, whether I'm researching a specific topic, whether I'm like tarot spreads that I feel are about healing work for myself, stuff like that. If I'm going to do journey work, the tarot that I like to use are very, to me, shamanistic in nature. They just are. So, that, The Shining Tribe by Rachel Pollack, and The Mother Piece. Don't you just love this? I mean, look how, 70s that looks. This is the Mother Piece, A Way to the Goddess Through Myth, Art, and Tarot. The cover looks really different now, but this is my lovely 1983 version, and I love it. So anyway, Mother Piece and The Shining Tribe. And they work well together, like, because they're both hand-drawn, and they have that real, like, primitive art, okay? Not primitive like Ellen Lorenzi Prince, okay? Because her decks are pretty primitively drawn as well, but there's a cleanliness with hers, like a starkness, that these are very much like, they just remind me of cave drawings. And that's exactly what they're mimicking, both decks. Now, she came to the images in The Shining Tribe with she was meditating on the Rider-Waite deck, and when she was meditating on specific cards, the images that she drew for The Shining Tribe came into visions. And so I thought that was fascinating. But in an interview, she says that The Shining Tribe is a deck that is a way to connect, was a way for us who read it, to connect to their journey, like the journey of a spiritual path. If that is not shamanistic, I don't know what is. It's a journey, right? And I want to say this quote by her. I have always looked at the tarot as a spiritual guide, a kind of wise friend that helps us discover who we are. For me, the term divination means a way to have a two-way conversation with the divine. That's the whole point of shamanism, is to get to the spirit realm, right? Think about the tree of life, and you're trying to get up to trying to get up to the divine, right? That's the whole journey. That's the whole point. Is to get closer to whoever the hell the divine is to you. And she also said in a whole other interview that I read that the Shining Tribe is about creating omens. So she wants us to use the cards and journey, and then almost collectively, like in a collective unconscious way, pick out images that are buried and bring those out. Right? Bring out our own omens, tell our own story using the primitive cave images from all over the world. Right? Those images are embedded in our collective unconscious. We all have them. We all know what they mean in here. Right? We all know what the handprint means in here. So it's about drawing that out. If that's not a shamanistic journey, I don't know what it is. Now, I'm going to do some cutaways because I want you to see some of the cards while I continue talking. So, she says that this deck is a tribe of diviners, like magicians, shamans, psychics, visionaries, and those that use divination to communicate with the gods, whoever they may be for you. Very ancestral for their images, and they're inspired by cave art from France, Spain, Siberia, and also paintings and maybe even sculptures and carvings that have come from Africa, Australia, and even America. And that's fascinating, right? So it's fascinating. And then I'm going to cut away for the mother piece. Look, I grabbed the full. Isn't that's insane. That's cool. It's shuffled too. That deck has been shuffled to hell. Anyway, so the mother piece, again, is inspired by Vicki Noble and Karen Vogel. They drew these together. Like, each one of them drew different cards. And Vicki Noble still to this day works with shamanistic healing and the dakinis, and she works with so much that is about the core of it all is about healing, and knows that in those prehistoric, like that matriarchal time, the time of the mother, the time of the goddess, the time before patriarchy, there was a time where, again, like the collective unconscious images, we know what they mean. And so between her and Karen Vogel, they drew up the Mother Piece Tarot. And it's just, both tarots are just fascinating to me. So I'll cut away for you to see some of the Mother Piece cards. And in the book that I showed you earlier, Vicki Noble states that shamanism is a religion of ecstasy associated with the ability of the spirit body to detach from the physical body and fly like a bird to the spirit realm. And like I said before, I believe Vicki Noble to be like an appreciate of the dakinis, who are in like Tibetan Buddhism, women who can fly. That's what that name means. And they're transmitters, like almost conduits of teachings without having the institution of like a school, okay, or a university. Anyway, she has linked these cultures and their art in the cards. The art depicted in ancient caves, figures in acts of ecstasy, right? If you think about shamans, or like a shaman, the art depicts dancing, bird-headed may symbolize like trance states, the ability to fly to other realms. That's why the bird was so significant. And if these cards depict art that is rooted in all of human culture, then they act as like a base for all earthly and human healing, even shamanistic, some not, before time, how the earth heals itself. And the cards will help us visualize healing in like an earth-based, element-based, in a way most of us have forgotten. Visualizing healing, and it manifests with both of these tarots. That's what the goal is. Visualize healing of yourself, healing of whoever you're trying to heal healing of the earth itself, and then manifesting it. That's the whole point. So, I hope this was such a long video, but I hope it was informative, and I hope it was fun, and I hope that it gets you to, you know, remember your dreams and go off on healing journeys and speak to the earth about how it's going to heal you and how it's going to heal itself from now on, and how it has. So, much love, and I hope to see you again soon.